So I just left the gym and I couldn't stop thinking about how this entire event has kind of sparked a change in my life. At least it feels like it. Who knows how long this feeling will persist. But I've been spending a lot of time on the internet lately, and just a lot of things are coming together for me. First being, following this event, uh, I've said it in the past. I'll probably keep saying it. We need to really evaluate how much time we're spending on screens, TV, media. These things are dispensing ideas to us that we absorb that control the way we see the world in spite of having any sort of like verification that these things are true. You hear doctors say shit, you take it. It's just like the media and the internet has become this authority figure on knowledge and everything, and it's incredibly damaging. It's divisive. As far as like condoning violence, after a lot of people on the internet, of course, I haven't seen too many people in person doing this, but if you're celebrating Charlie Kirk's death, I think something is wrong with you. It's not to say that I agree with everything the man said. I didn't really like his personality. I've spoken about my issues with Christianity. I'm not a believer in mainstream Christianity as it's presented. I think he had some conservative beliefs that, while on paper maybe they seem logical or rational, they don't really. It's just too. I'm not really sure what the word is. They don't consider all angles, all nuances. Charlie was a man. He's one person. Of course, you're not. Everything that he says um, isn't going to apply to everyone, and I'm sure he may have acknowledged that. Now, some people are on the internet are saying that he's not even dead, and this kind of pivots to my other point, which is like having to do with the internet. You know, the reason why I think this is such a significant event is because look at the reaction. Like, either if you want to be super skeptical about it, you got people saying like, "Oh, he's not even dead. The whole thing's a psyop. It's all staged. These are actors on the world stage. The entire world is ran by this elite group of people that controls everything." Well, if it's like that's the case, now's the time to stand up. To be honest, what are we doing here if we're not trying to oppose that in any way possible, and bringing knowledge to that. But if you want to be less like kind of tinfoil hat about the whole thing, I think, and you assume that he's actually is dead, and who knows who killed him. There's so many sketchy and weird things surrounding this event. Even as somebody who's not trying to be like ultra skeptic, there's just way too many holes in the story that don't add up. They don't make sense. But nobody should be getting killed for what they believe in. As far as I can tell, Charlie didn't kill anybody directly. Nobody can prove that he did that or not. He may have said things that people disagree with, but that doesn't mean that he should be getting killed for just saying things. And it just really it seems like this has to be the end of complacency. Like, if you're just kind of just like slugging along, not caring about anything, not doing anything, not working towards anything, not trying to like add to the world in any meaningful or positive way. If you're just like fucking rotting and doing nothing and just being a doomer, it's like that has to stop. It's all like it has to stop. There's got to be some way out of this situation we're in, where like nobody agrees on anything. You've got doomers left and right, like, oh, the world's screwed, everything's controlled. That shit gets so old to just hear over and over and over again. I'm not saying that there isn't like a messed up system we live in, and the government's got advanced technology, and who knows, I could be getting put on a list right now. I mean, it's possible, but really, it doesn't make sense that we would just always just persistently prioritize staying alive in some fucking terrible existence where everything's controlled and it's just like hell, versus at least trying to, do something to uh, like deconstruct that. That would seem like it should be the goal. Like, if what is the point of just going through life and not putting anything on the line? Doesn't make sense to me, and I think that's kind of what I've been taking away from this whole event. Uh, to reiterate main points, the internet, the media, like it's getting to the point. We probably should have nixed it 10 years ago, 5, 10 years ago. Hindsight is 2020, of course. You look back all the time that I've spent just absorbing bullshit information, wasting days, precious time that I could be spending with people, or building skills, or doing things that would actually provide some sort of benefit, instead of just like, going online theorizing or caring about like what other people think, or other people's lives that like I'll never meet and nobody knows. Why? Like, it just kind of baffles me looking back on it now. Why would I watch a streamer play a game that I play? I mean, follow, like, try to stay with me here, but I'm not saying that you can't ever enjoy anything. Like, I used to play first person shooter games, and sometimes you're just watching a stream, and it's like, okay, maybe if you want to say like, well, maybe I'm learning strategy through this thing, or it's like entertaining for a little bit, but for the most part, it's just like, it's so weird when you think about the fact that your attention is just kind of contributing to nothing really. And maybe this is something that you progressively realize over time, where it hits you and you're just kind of like, I have no impulse to really do that anymore. Just go rot in some streamers chat while they're getting donated, and fucking just like acting dumb for the purpose of maintaining attention on them. And it's just crazy. I could go into a whole rant about sports, like just modern big mainstream sports, that I'm not going to get into right now because I don't want it to kind of like devolve into a whole different conversation that's going to take away from this one. But internet needs to be like, yeah, people need to start getting off their devices, dropping dropping the dependency of them. It's going to come with some really uncomfortable, regressions to certain things, but I think it's ultimately it has to be the path forward. The other, of course, is like, you need people. We need to start like speaking up and not being so afraid. And I think I truly am starting to think that in this modern day there are things worse than death. Because if you're just kind of like, you have no motivation or care to go through your day because it all sucks, and what's even the point, and why try, and like, oh, it's all just destined to fail to begin with, and it's all doom, and it's all bad, and and other people this, and the government that, and it's just like that. We I feel like I can't do that anymore. It's untenable. It can't be sustained living like that. Um, and I think as far as I can tell, there's the two main things that I'm feeling from this. Um, do I have anything else to say? I don't really know. I'm not really sure. I think on some level we have to learn to live with not knowing things. I've said that. It's probably one of the main things I say. Anyone that knows me, that talks to me about deep subjects, probably has gotten sick of me saying this, and it sucks. And I think humans are maybe not well equipped to handle situations that aren't like very binary, or kind of, they don't offer any certainty. Like, if it's not this, then it has to be that. Well, not everything's like that. Um, it's and I think I'm starting to see why there's like the problems that come with that from just a psychological standpoint, when kind of, you, there's no there's no like limits or boundaries to what you're thinking, so you're just kind of allowing the possibility of everything. I'm not saying that's wrong, but it maybe just isn't functional within the world that we are forced to accept. But, I'm not really sure on that. I guess this is an ongoing process of me kind of trying to figure all that out. Either way, I don't know. I can't, I think that's why I struggle to accept religion, because that's kind of what I see it as. It's just people that maybe on some level they don't even realize it. They don't want to accept that they don't have all the answers, or that there are no answers to all these things. So they just kind of like write off any possibility that what they believe in might have some like an Achilles heel, or things like, for instance, mainstream scientism kind of has the whole, okay, well, similar to like who created God, what prompted the Big Bang? Like, there's in kind of the system of like the material model, you've got kind of a limited amount of everything that will just expand, and there's entropy, and then eventually it's all going to stop expanding, or it's going to, the energy is trending towards nothing, and then there's going to be like a heat death. And that's like a big theory that a lot of people that are so, intellectually enlightened think. And it's just like, well, you know explain the Big Bang. What prompted that? Where did it all come from prior to the Big Bang? And if you can't look at that question honestly, and realize that it is a serious problem that can't be answered, um, you're not being intellectually honest. And it is what it is, you know. But that is what it is that you're just kind of telling yourself a lie that's not true. And having to accept that maybe our human brains just aren't capable of understanding, every single thing about existence as much as we would like to. Maybe just having to come to terms with the fact that that's really uncomfortable. And maybe there is a God. Most likely there is some sort of creator that created this whole thing and knows that. But if you're trying to think about like what made the thing that created everything, and time, and all these other things that we can't even perceive, like um, electromagnetic radiation that's out of the range of our perception, things that do happen around us all the time that we can't perceive. It's like we don't even know what we don't know, for the most part. Unless you assume that, of course, somebody out there knows everything, and they've just built a system for 8 billion people to be enslaved in, and they have all the answers, but they're just going to be kept here forever. And that's kind of I feel like that's the gist of the reincarnation soul trap theory, which I've always maintained that if you're going to believe in that, you might as well just, put an end to it all, quite honestly. And that sounds kind of harsh, but really, if you believe that, there's no hope for you. You've extinguished all possibility for any positivity, any like, I don't know what the word is. My vocabulary is kind of failing me right now, but I think the point can be easily understood. What I'm trying to say, if you believe that we're here just to suffer, and there's entities out there that are keeping us in a suffering loop, and we get born, we die, and then we come back here, we get tricked into coming back here. If you believe that, I think just like, all I can hope is that those people see that since you can't prove that, why should you believe that? Like, yes, there's suffering here, but surely there's some good. So hopefully, I know I kind of went off on a tangent there, but I made my points about the Charlie Kirk thing. I didn't want to get into specifics because there's no point. More information is going to be released, and we're never going to know the full truth of that, but that's kind of the point. So that's all I have to say. Have a good one.